Disney is just the best, and as some of you know, I haven't seen most of the 2D animated films. I know I'm such a square. But I have seen almost all of the 3D animated films by Walt Disney Animation. Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana, you know, all of those films that feel like Pixar films, but you kind of know something's not quite right. It's a sister company. The more Disney company. But being who I am, I spent about half a year pondering whether or not those films could be tied together in a timeline fashion, something like the famous Pixar theory. This was before I started my channel though, and the reason I began theorizing mid-2015 was in some ways because of this. I wanted to build up a timeline that could use Easter eggs to tie together similar recent Walt Disney Animation films, and for my 100th theory ever, about 3 years ago, I tried. And failed. I only had about 200 subs, I wasn't specific enough, I wasn't realistic enough, and so today, I'm going to try this again, more restrictively, more logically, and more accurately, as I revise that old theory and try to blow your minds. Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and while it's true that Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana, and any of their subsequent sequels were all of the main 3D feature films created by Walt Disney Animation, only 3 of them are important to me. Bolt, Wreck-It Ralph, and Meet the Robinsons. Reasoning? Well, they can be fundamentally tied together. This theory I've built, people either love it or they hate it. It's undeniably interesting, but it needs more evidence. Basically, I've noted that they all take place in roughly the same years. Like, they're the only 3 of these films that take place when they were released, and that means 2007 to 2012, a 5-year time period, roughly 2010 we'll say for the rest of this video. The humans from Bolt, the real world from Wreck-It Ralph, and the past from Meet the Robinsons. They are all set in America 2010. So it just brings up the question, what kinds of patterns, what kinds of consistencies can interlock them together using characters? Do any of the humans in these films reference anything that could be applied to other characters? Well, there is one thing. One person who can act as a bridge across this multiverse. It's none other than our favorite oopsie-goof sociopath, the talent agent from Bolt, the blonde-haired, stuck-up windbag working with child actress Penny, who says the following: "I have a little girl at home, love of my life, I would do anything for her, and I would trade her for you in a heartbeat." So what does this mean? Well, not only does it mean that he's a workaholically obsessed child hater, but it also means he has a daughter at home. A genetically similar individual whom he never gets to see because of his job. Penny, the child actress, is his daughter away from home, and he seems to ignore his real family for the most part. Perhaps they live afar. Now, the reason I say that is because it was near impossible to decide whether or not Wreck-It Ralph takes place in California or in Texas. The only shot we get of Litwack's arcade implies that it's located in a place that's mildly barren. Definitely not too futuristic or metro. There are mountains in the background, a power plant, very tropical trees, billboards, plenty of vegetation, and a large highway which reads Route 83 above it. By process of elimination, the answer is that it takes place in either California or Texas. Route 83 exists in both places as different highways, but why is this relevant to Bolt? This is a different movie. I'd spent a whole month dissecting all of the shots we got of Litwack's arcade, all of the trees, plants, sun's position in the sky, the overall theme, and most importantly, these damn interstate routes. But now I know. Because in Wreck-It Ralph 2, I waited forever in the theater just hoping and hoping they'd reveal something about the arcade's location, and they did. This girl has a shirt that says Los Aburritos. Great, but how do we know that's in California? I don't believe that it's a real city. So I waited some more, and finally, this green woman Ralph speaks to in the internet says that they're shipping the steering wheel to Litwack's arcade in Los Aburritos, California. Perfect. Nailed it. Again, why is Wreck-It Ralph's location relevant to some other film's plot? Because even if the agent is away from home frequently, working in central LA, he still lives in California. Just like none other than the main gamer from Wreck-It Ralph 1. Now, Disney is less interested in Easter eggs. Pixar's where it's at, but this is more like a puzzle piece. This girl, this blonde Moppet girl, is the daughter of the agent from Bolt. This relationship clicks together like an interlocking chain. A girl who looks up to Mr. Litwack like a father figure, who spends inordinate amounts of time in a location that, let's face it, is dated all to She spends her days looking up to the characters in the games, a girl who fist bumps fictional characters out of friendship and relations she cannot get with her fatherless father. The Moppet Girl, as they call her, the unexplained mystery girl of Los Aburritos, the distressed nerd whose father disowns her for her interests, a love-hate torment. She's pushed around by others in the arcade, and I have no idea who her mother is at the moment, assuming she's around to begin with either. Interesting. We have matching dates, matching locations, and a consistency, a pattern, a utility we can abuse for the sake of theorizing. Proof must be added. Let's start with the reliable method, genes. Genetically, this agent guy sometimes demonstrates qualities of ambidexterity, but mostly, actually, he uses his left hand to do tasks. Even here, when he grabs an imaginary pin, he uses his left hand, sticks it in his right hand as he speaks, and then puts it back in his left hand to poke it on an imaginary wall. For the Moppet Girl, it's weirder. It should be easier to see her handedness since she's always playing video games, but sometimes she'll hold the controls one way, sometimes another. We don't get a whole lot of data to analyze, and the hero's duty controls don't help her case in any way with this falsely handled gun, so we'll have to go with ambidextrous until further notice, but that's just the minor genetics. Let's do the obvious ones before continuing with anything. There's the obvious blonde hair, blonde eyebrows, and the identical blue eyes. They also have similar ears. He has small ears, she has large ears, but both have this bizarre cross between dangling and attached lobes. They're obviously both white, but she has freckles too. So genetics are mostly in our favor insofar as the creators have made them look alike. Again, these two films are the only ones by this company that share literally all of these identical setting similarities aside from Meet the Robinsons, which I'll get to later. And you know, with the fictional genetics, most characters have diverse genetics here, but are consistent. Always. So this is entirely valid, and there's a lot more to it than just the obvious hair. This should sound quite similar to that Pixar multiverse theory I've been working on. This universe, though, contains Bolt, Wreck-It Ralph, and Meet the Robinsons. Possibly. Meet the Robinsons' past takes place during 2007 in the central United States. I'm not sure exactly where, but Louis has blonde hair, blue eyes. He's just like them, though I think he is right-handed. The ears are less detailed, but also seem to be a cross between dangling and attached, being a size between Moppet and Agent. As you may know, I've previously theorized something perfect, and you know what, I'm gonna revise that here right now too. I know exactly who Louis's birth mom is from Meet the Robinsons. Sounds like an absurdly unanswerable question, no? No! It was bafflingly easy. Take the image of his mother, brighten the hell out of it, and you get a ghastly reveal. That poof of blonde hair, those similar eyes, that nose and mouth, the collar. This woman is literally Mrs. Harrington, the only woman who tried adopting Louis at the beginning of the film. This base model is seen a couple more times in the film, but nearly all of the genetics and spot-on coloring is purely identical from Mrs. Harrington's specific model in particular. Her and her husband are the first couple we are introduced to, and they try to be nice, but Louis injures Mr. Harrington, and after all those years of waiting, pondering on whether or not they should go back for her son, it immediately backfires and they regret it. She doesn't want to lose her husband. Mrs. Harrington has the exact same genetics in all areas as Louis, and the timing and locations match up more spot on than anything I've ever analyzed. It's borderline factual. But we still don't know Louis's father. Could it be the agent from Bolt? Could it? How? We know the timing and genetic patterns, but we know nothing more. Locations are diametrically polar, but as my commenters said on that short video where I brightened and analyzed, Mrs. Harrington could have been Well, based on the high heels and city life, you know. I don't want to get demonetized, but it makes sense if this agent from Bolt meets one or two nightly side chicks on his many exhaustive travels. I mean, that can tie it in, but evermore the Easter egging, we see Meet the Robinsons ties itself to Wreck-It Ralph as well by inserting its T-Rex model into the gaming systems. I mean, Meet the Robinsons doesn't cleanly tie into those two other films, but it does fit with the pattern. Walt Disney Animation's version of 2010's America containing blue eyes and blonde hair. If it's true indeed that Louis is the product of the agent, then the family tree would look a little something like this, but I don't know. The focus of this is the hidden relationship between the agent and the girl, and this neat little connection has now been dissected. I've solved all I can, and let me tell you, while Walt Disney Animation isn't as neat as Pixar, this is still pretty cool. Subscribe below if you want to see a lot of Disney and Pixar theories. I have so many, most miles better than this one even. You can click the bell too, it'll make sure you know when I upload. Like and comment below what you think or how your theories could interpret this even better than I've attempted here. For those wondering, I've put my Patreon on pause for now, but my cringy merch is still in full effect. Much cringe, much intellectualism. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer.